It's December 27, 2008. This is Maximize Utility. Now, in the last few months, I put a lot of stuff up on the web, and you might notice it's mostly macroeconomics, in particular monetary economics. You might say, where's the micro? When are we going to get to the Maximize Utility, that great parable out of micro? Well, it's a broader idea in general. It's about macro and micro. It's about social science. It's about life in general. But let me try to give some examples of where I want to go with it, and some of the kind of things I want to do. Well, one thing I want to do is I want to get away from things we already know, the kind of corny economics you get out there. There's a slew of books out there teaching you how to live the economic life. You'll find this example in many of these books. They'll tell you, let's say you're going to go to get an MBA degree. Now, you shouldn't just look at it as 2 years of expensive tuition, $50,000 a year, $100,000 layup. What you should do is realize that you're going to be out of the labor market for 2 years. That's going to cost you so much. But then you might offset that by going to the MBA program and just having fun. So there's a psychic value to going to the MBA program. That would be on the plus side. And this kind of thing, I think, is very valid, obviously, and there are other factors, too, I didn't bring up. But I think you already know that. I don't think I have to tell you that kind of thing. Let me give you another example. Let's look at a book called Freakonomics. Came out a few years ago. It's been very, very popular. It's considered a wildly innovative book in economics by a top young scholar guy named Stephen Levitt. And I want to get beyond Freakonomics, too. Let me give you a couple examples out of Freakonomics I think are really bad. In one section, he asks you a question. He's going to try to discover for you, what do real estate agents in the Ku Klux Klan have in common? Now, you're scratching your head. What do real estate agents in the Klan have in common? You're trying to figure, what is this guy going to tell you that you didn't know? Now, when you read the section, you're going to realize that he'll tell you that what they have in common is they both hide information so that they can have advantage over you. Now, I think you already knew this. I don't think you need the top, greatest young economist out there to tell you that kind of thing. Another example from Freakonomics is a question, why do drug dealers live at home with their mothers? Now, here you're saying, you're thinking, you automatically think, why do big-time drug dealers live at home with their mothers? Because you know that most drug dealers are chintzy peddlers of small amounts of drugs, and they don't make a real lot of money. There's only a handful of big-time drug dealers. And you also know that people who don't make a lot of money, you have friends who are 30 years old, whatever, and they live at home with their mothers, and that's only natural, too. Now, what Stephen Levitt's going to eventually tell you is that, indeed, drug dealers, they don't make a lot of money on average. They're not all Tony Montanas, and therefore they tend to live at home to economize. Big deal. I think you already knew that kind of thing. So I want to get one step beyond what is considered even really good economics, like you see in Freakonomics. Here's another example of how I want to step up economic thinking. Here's a piece from the Boston Globe this morning. It's entitled 5 Basic Tips for Talking to Teenagers About Making Wise Financial Decisions. It's an Associated Press piece. And it's, in my opinion, 5 ideas that are totally moronic, totally ridiculous. Needs versus wants, they say. Impress upon your children that there's some things they just want and some things they really need, like food, clothing, and shelter. So something like your kid mows the lawn, you pay him $20, then you land the bomb on him that the mortgage is $4,000 a month. Or you let him know that because you have a whole family, your boss takes $10,000 a year out of your paycheck for health insurance rather than just $2,000 a year if you didn't have a family plan. These are things kids cannot deal with. The other points are equally moronic. Start saving early. I quote, starting to save early is more important than saving a large amount. And it goes on about compound interest at 4% and the rule of 72. This is nonsense. Any amount of money that a kid could save at age 13 or 14 or 15, right through college, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and maybe even 22, would be so small compared to what he could save later in life when he's making such large amounts of money that it's not even worth saving. Let's talk about economics today in the real world and in a society that is generally very rich. Now, most kids will know by the time they become adults that they have to economize. You don't have to instill in them a savings ethic from 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. So maximizing utility is about bad-mouthing earnest scholars like Stephen Levitt and trying to help society. And it's about rich people who are so rich that their kids don't even have to save money. No, that's not the case at all. In fact, maximizing utility is more about the average household or even poor households. For example, you find that most people don't balance their checkbook. They won't be scolded by me. I think they're doing the right thing. Balancing your checkbook is a complete waste of time. You're not maximizing utility if you balance your checkbook. The probability the bank is going to make a mistake is so small it's just a waste of time to balance your checkbook, no matter what the pundits might say. Here's another example of maximizing utility, or a mistake somebody can make in maximizing utility. Here's a picture of a closet. You see up top, the closet is so cluttered with all kinds of cleaning products that you can't find the one you want without undue effort. And down at the bottom, too, the closet is so cluttered, you don't even want to go in there and get the broom you want to clean whatever it is you want to clean. This household, in my opinion, is not optimizing. They should have a lot less stuff, but they're just typical rich people who buy too much stuff. In fact, that happens to be my household. I say these people are not optimizing. They should need a lesson in maximizing utility. So maximizing utility will have implications about how we run our household and how we engage in microeconomic activities, but it will also have implications for macro markets and financial markets. Let's talk about financial markets and investing for a second. I think because we're maximizing utility, markets are efficient, that it's hard to beat the market. Now, for years I've been saying that there were way too many hedge funds. There were 7,000 or 10,000 hedge funds, and there just couldn't exist that many people who were beating the market that simply. And indeed, this year you'll see a lot of hedge funds will go out of business. And in general, I think markets are efficient. In our Maximize Utility syllabus, we'll go through investment technique after investment technique, and I'll show you how they don't work. I think that's very, very valuable information. And then we can talk about macroeconomics and monetary policy. And this isn't like the cranks you see on YouTube, people who they hate the Fed, they want to get rid of the central bank, and they want to bring in the gold standard, or they hate the U.S. government and think it's going to cause inflation. Lo and behold, it's going to cause deflation, whatever. They hate the people. They don't want the people to spend more. Then they love the government for helping the people to spend more. And this isn't that kind of criticism. I have reasonable competence to talk about monetary and macroeconomics. And I'll tell you, we are engaging in new kinds of monetary policy today, unlike ever before. We read in the press and we hear from the insiders in monetary policy that our central bank has more tools in its toolbox, that it can do all kinds of things. Traditionally, it does certain activities, and now it can do things like it can buy long-dated bonds, 30-year treasuries. It can buy corporate bonds to stimulate the economy. It could even go out and buy goods and services. It could buy cars and dump them in the bay, for example. But I'll tell you that those policies really aren't different policies. All the central bank can do is it can either go out and lend or it can spend on a promise that it will pay back at some time in the future. It can write a kind of IOU, and it can only do that to the extent that people trust that it will be there to raise the money in the future. So we'll see, there'll be a lot of stuff about central banking and about the kind of policy we're doing today. I hope this clarifies a little bit what I mean by maximizing utility and what I mean about the kind of greater program of rigorous thinking. And here's some highlights about what I'm going to try to do in the next 3-4 weeks. I want to do a joke piece. I call it New Research in Behavioral Economics. That's a field I find really patronizing and really offensive. And I want to do some more speculations about the future using ideas of economics. And I want to do something on assumptions in economics, the microeconomic assumptions like rationality and clearing markets. People make fun of those, but I think they're very, very valid. And I want to do something I call the trick. Did you know that macroeconomics is all about tricking people? And then I want to do some coverage on the English newspaper, The Economist. Now, I'm going to tell you, it's probably had the greatest influence on my thinking in my adult lifetime, yet I really hate it, and you'll see why. And then, of course, we'll continue to do investing techniques, and those are some of the things to look forward to on Maximize Utility.